With the centennial of the National Association just ahead of us, one might ask, what are the next moves on the part of the leadership of the National Association? Or one could ask, what would be advised for the National Association to consider? I would suggest at least 4 things. First, restoring the underpinnings of our doctrinal teachings. With a new generation on hand, the new generation needs to be acquainted with the heritage that is represented by this camp meeting and needs to be acquainted with the history that is enshrined in this association. At the center of it all are the 2 hallmark doctrines to which I referred earlier: holiness and Christian unity. The doctrines behind these are found in the New Testament and are so clearly stated there that every generation needs to be taught afresh the meaning of these. And as the learning takes place, the accent upon them needs to continue, for these can often be lost. Unity can be lost because of the trend toward individualism in America, and also because of the emphasis on diversity. Holiness can be lost because of secularism. So these 2 doctrines need to be taught and continually accented. I mention these 2 in particular because they belong to our heritage and they are a part of our reason for being a part of the Church of God. A second thing I would suggest and recommend: understanding the value of diversity in its place and for its reason. In its place, because with such a wealth of diversity in America and in the world, to understand it is to appreciate it. But to keep it in its place means that it does not dominate to the point of excluding others who differ from us in one way or another. We are accustomed to racial diversity. We're accustomed to social diversity. And in the midst of the church, with all of the wealth of meaning associated with what Jesus intended, the church must never allow diversity to be misunderstood or devalued. And the church must always keep in mind the place of diversity as God intended it. There is a strength in it that must be shared with all others. There's a wealth in it that must yield its benefit to all others, so that unity is always highlighted through cooperativeness. Which leads to the third suggestion. As the new generation is on hand, we must not only talk about our doctrinal underpinnings or try to understand more acutely the meaning of diversity, but we must work at greater cooperativeness. In America, where individualism has been highlighted across the centuries, each one doing his or her own thing, going his or her own way, cooperation is often lost. And to learn how to cooperate is a gift. It must be taught. It must be modeled. Cooperativeness between the genders. Cooperativeness between those who are gifted differently. Cooperativeness between those who have different missions to fulfill, but always the accent on cooperation rather than acting alone. A vision might come to one that might not be shared by others, but that vision can be blessed through the cooperativeness of others who did not receive it initially. The Church of God began because there were those who saw the same vision and decided to cooperate because the Holy Spirit inspired them to see what could be done jointly that could not be done as well singly. This is a message for believers, and it is a message that the National Association learned early on and passed down to my generation. I'm also reminded of something that Goethe once wrote in his book called Faust. And there are two lines in it that have impressed me across the years. What you inherited from your father, earn it in order to possess it. There's a depth of meaning in that. What has been passed down to each generation must be looked at anew for its value, and we must invest something in it in order rightly to possess it meaningfully. I have, since being a teenager, growing up within the Church of God, and particularly nurtured within the National Association, I have learned to value the meanings that are inherent in this heritage. And I gave my life to the business of promoting what it stands for. I have spent my years pastoring, teaching, trying to nurture new generations in our heritage and helping them to appreciate after learning about our history. What you inherit from your fathers, earn it so as to possess it. This leads to cooperation for a real valuing of what one's heritage is. One wants to link hearts and hands and arms in order to promote it together. Those three recommendations I would suggest to the leaders of the National Association, because I can foresee that restoring our doctrinal underpinnings, giving a better understanding of diversity so as to value it rightly, and learning how to cooperate will carry us beyond the point of singular action, and we will do things as a unified body. Which leads to the fourth recommendation: finding new ways to implement our witness to the world. I have in mind particularly a more attractive way of showing the world the Christian witness. Doing so by having multi-racial congregations, sharing our witness through multi-racial teams, sharing our witness through multi-racial witness groups, spreading not only throughout the United States, but in other parts of our world where the impact has not yet been felt, nor the message yet heard. There are still unclaimed areas of our world which need our message. As a part of the church, our business is to evangelize far beyond our own sector. The world is our horizon, and we are willing to join it, helping others to meet with us in an open spirit of love and regard, showing by Christian unity and a life of obedient holiness what Jesus intended when he said, "I will build my church,